Good morning and welcome back to my channel. I'm just going to jump right in here and I'm going to discuss my top 4 books of 2024. I read 107 books last year, 86 were nonfiction and the rest were fiction. I created a monthly favorites chart and that was so much fun to do, so I'll be doing that again this year. I ended up having 11 favorites because I had a bad reading slump in February. I didn't read anything that month, so it's the 11 rather than the 12. And I'm just going to jump right in, discuss my top 4, starting with my favorite book of the year, and yeah. At number 1, my favorite book of 2024 was Music and Mind, Harnessing the Arts for Health and Wellness, edited by Renee Flemming. I was very surprised by this book. I'm actually surprised that it turned out to be my number 1 favorite pick, but I love music and I love psychology, so this was the perfect blend for that. It goes into how music affects us on a psychological level as well as a physical level, which I found very interesting. And I'm just going to read a few quotes here to kind of discuss the book a little bit and just kind of dive into why I love this book. It's very massive, so it's like a lot of information in it. I'm hoping that the paperback gets released, but sometimes paperbacks take up to 4 years to be released, and I really hope that doesn't take that long with this one. I just like how paperbacks look on my shelves a lot better. And yeah, I'm just going to start talking about this book. So, on page... Okay, to quote here, music makes us go somewhere. It propels us into new states, new vantages, new emotional affordances. As someone who's been listening to music pretty much my entire life, like, my favorite music genre, I guess, would be music scores. I like music with lyrics, but not always. And if I do listen to music with lyrics, it has to be stuff that I can relate to. But otherwise, I prefer music scores. Take Hans Zimmer's Interstellar soundtrack. That music is absolutely incredible. It reminds me of back when I was a kid and I would go to the planetarium, listen to all that space music. And anytime I'm listening to the Hans Zimmer score, like, I feel like I'm traveling the universe, pretty much how the movie describes. And that is just, it's an incredible feeling, which I absolutely love. Next is a part here that really caught my attention, and the quote goes, "Music has this inherent power to bring humans together. At a concert, whether on stage or off, we are all equal." And I just love that quote in this book so much. I ended up seeing Sarah McLachlan in concert last year, and that was an incredible experience. I'd waited 30 years to see her, so when she finally sung the song Fear, which I had hoped to hear live, I was completely enraptured and moved by it. I found myself crying as she was singing that song. It has such a special place for me. I grew up watching the 1999 Roswell series, and that song is in the pilot episode as Max is healing Liz from the gunshot wound. And I'm always transported back anytime I hear that song. It's one of my favorite Sarah McLachlan songs. And what captures my attention mainly with this quote about how it brings humans together is after Sarah sung that song, the woman next to me, I looked over at her and she had tears in her eyes just the same way I did. So it just kind of shows that power of music and how it connects us, it binds us together. We can all be in that moment listening to our favorite artist at a concert and just feel that intensity, that emotion. And that's one of the reasons why I love music so much, because it just kind of helps me get through a lot of stuff. And then another quote here, by improving one's mood, music may help dial down the pain volume sufficiently to motivate a person to engage in social activities. Listening to music that has personal meaning and is comforting may help create a sense of support and validation, possibly combating feelings of loneliness. One of the reasons I love music is just how much it helps me on a mental level. Like, I've had a lot of bad days psychologically, and music is just that one thing I have to go to. I can put on a favorite song, a favorite track. I have playlists for all kinds of different moods. And so whatever I'm feeling in that moment, I'm just able to give myself over to the music. And that's just an incredible feeling, which I love. My second favorite book of 2024 was a fiction book, and it was the only fiction that made my top 11 list, and that is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. I'm not going to go too deep into this one because I have a video planned for it where I really want to discuss this one. As you can kind of see, I don't know if you can or not, but this one is tabbed all the way through. I've got annotations in this copy, and this is just a book that I really wanted to discuss on its own. So, like, I'll be doing a video later on next month for it that I'm really excited to discuss and get into, because when it comes to fiction, I don't have a lot of favorite fiction novels, but Station 11 definitely ranks at the top. At number 3, I've got Latinoland by Arana. This book was fascinating as anything. The paperback is being released February 18th, so I'm excited to get that copy and add it to my BIPOC section on my bookshelf. So the paperbacks just look better. But I read this book and I was really impressed with it. As someone who is Hispanic with a Mexican family base and indigenous roots, this book really caught my attention. The term Latino, Latina, whatever word you want to use, it's very complex. President Nixon didn't use the word Hispanic. He was the first one to use the word Hispanic in the 1970s, give or take. So that word is kind of like new to our vocabulary. It's not that old when you think about it compared to a lot of other terms. But the term Latino, Latina, it encompasses so much. There's Hispanics, Mexicans, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, and the list just goes on. So, like, you can't really put us in a box, even though American society tries to. And there's a couple of interesting sections in here that I really enjoyed. And let me see if I can find them. Let's see. It talks about how, I guess, indigenous remain at the heart of Latinos. Even though I'm Hispanic and I have indigenous roots, I was raised with the Mexican culture. I wasn't raised with the Native American tribe, so I didn't really understand that aspect of it. But being a Hispanic, that was a big part of my life growing up. And as a kid, I noticed race immediately because I was too dark for my white friends, too light-skinned for my African American friends. And then when it came to my Hispanic, Mexican, or Latino friends, it's hard to figure out what term to use sometimes. But I was too dark-skinned for them, and I kind of never really understood why until I started learning about my indigenous roots. So that put everything into perspective. I remember going to a Native American powwow up in Cody, Wyoming, and for the first time, and I was about 18, I felt connected to something other than the Mexican roots that I grew up with. But I felt connected in a way that I hadn't before in terms of skin tone, because I finally discovered and saw people that look like me, which, being where I'm from, like I see a lot of Hispanics and stuff, but I rarely come across people with my dark skin. And so to discover that, like, at an indigenous powwow was absolutely life-changing and one of the best experiences of my life. And then to find a quote in here, let's see. Okay, this one is an interesting quote. "We only become Latinos or Hispanics or Latinx upon arrival, when the U.S. Census asks us to declare, when an American stamps us with a name. But whatever the label, it offers a precious unity that Spain, in all its perverse efforts to separate its conquered minions, never did." So it's very interesting because Latinos have such a rich culture, whether it's Mexican culture, Spanish culture, Dominican, and so forth. But this book really does an excellent job of kind of putting it all together, and I absolutely love it and can't wait for the paperback. And book number 4 is Caste, The Origins of Our Discontent by Isabel Wilkerson. I'm not going to get too deep into this book because it's very political. A lot of people have a lot of opinions about it. But I will say that I was impressed by this book. I had been wanting to read it, or I had attempted to read it since it was released in 2020, but I always had a hard time with it. It was just, the concepts were a little too much for me. I couldn't understand them that well. But last year I saw the Ava DuVernay movie Origin, and that movie completely changed my perspective, and if anything, it helped me understand the book a lot more. It helped put the concepts into an easier way that I could understand. I had visuals to go by to associate the concepts with too, and it made watching the film adaptation made the book so much easier to just understand and comprehend, and I was able to get through it a lot. This one I tabbed a lot, and there's a lot of highlighting. I kept my highlighting stuff minimal, just highlighting quotes and important information. But I came to understand the caste system a little bit better, and it's just, even though I grew up learning about the caste system, it wasn't enough to where I could fully understand it. And so after seeing the movie, after reading the book, it just completely changed my perspective on things, really put things into a different light. And that's pretty much all I'm going to say about this one, because again, it's a very political and sometimes controversial book. I was a bit surprised at how easy it was to put my top 4 list together, out of all 107 books. And so that was pretty fun to do. I enjoyed the books I read. I don't know what's going to be in store for this year, 2025, but already I've got a list of what seem like promising books lined up, so I'm excited to do that. But my next video, I'll be doing my January reading wrap-up, because January is already coming to an end next week, which is insane. And I guess that about does it for right now. I look forward to this. I've started planning out my booktube and how I want to go about it, so I've got some pretty fun ideas that I'm excited for, and I look forward to you guys going on this journey with me, because I'm finally comfortable enough to just share my passion of reading with the world, and it's gonna be a fun ride. I might get nervous, might fragment like I normally do, but I don't care about that. What matters is just sharing this love I have for books, specifically in nonfiction. I have some fiction books lined up for this year, so that's going to be exciting. Also, and new, interesting, definitely out of my wheelhouse, so that'll be fun. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.